Welcome in the last episode of Polish warship ЩLOZAK construction. We will focus on details and finish the model. With Hataka gunmetal I've painted the main artillery barrels and some details at the aft. Using a small brush I tried to reproduce the details of deep sea bomb launchers. I glued bombs and small cranes, of course using cyanoacrylate glue. Then from a piece of 0.5 mm polystyrene I decided to do gratings. As you can see on the signal deck I also made small additional elements, compass and machine telegraph. I decided to paint it with Renaissance rich gold paint and Tamiya wash. The effect wasn't great, but with such small scale I was quite satisfied. The combination of wash and acrylic paint probably wasn't the best solution. It would be better to paint the element first and then apply the wash. This is how the final effect of the signal deck looks like. Additional elements will definitely improve the look of this part of the ship. Then I wanted to make straps that are fastening the ship's boat on both sides. For this purpose I cut some paper strips and I decided to dirty them with wash. After drying, I glued the stripes with cyanoacrylate glue. I wanted to replace the 40mm anti-aircraft gun pom-pom. I bought a set from a Nico model resin kit. It includes 6 pom-poms. This assembly is very easy. As you can see, there are also photo etch parts. The level of detail is very high. I started to glue one cannon according to the instructions. After gluing and painting the cannon, you can see the effect. This comparison of the two guns speaks for itself. They differ radically. Pom-pom from Nico models is super detailed. It's definitely worth to spend some time making such detailed cannon. Then I decided to mark the navigational lights. I used Vallejo paints. With such a set of 3 paints, plus of course white and black, we can get basically any color. In my case, I needed red for the lamp on the port side and green on the starboard side. Mixing the paints, I got a dark green. I made it brighter with a yellow color. And I painted the starboard side light. Then port side with a red color. I thought that the red was too bright, so I made it darker. Before applying the decals, I decided to paint the entire model with Vallejo gloss varnish. I applied 2 coats, waiting about 4 hours between. Then I started to make a flag. I cut out the appropriate elements and placed them on aluminum foil. It can be easily profiled to a shape imitating flapping in the wind. I glued the flag on the flagstaff because my intention was to present the ship underway. I started to place the decals using microset and microsol. Using these liquids is very useful, it helps with the application and the final effect is more real. Then I decided to dirty the ship. I wanted to present it as a highly exploited unit. For this purpose I've mixed standard rust pigment with the dark grey wash. And I started to apply the mixture to the ship. It was my first time with weathering and I think I made this effect too strong. Also mixing the pigment with wash wasn't probably the best idea. The next step was to fix the lines. It takes the patience of a saint to accurately glue it, but I must admit that those were extremely stretchy and I really highly recommend these lines. That's how the final rigging looks like. I also decided to add live buoys. As you can see, there was about 3 live buoys each side of the ship. I cut very thin wire insulation. The one I've got was red, so it was enough to paint its element in white. I made such a set of live buoys. Then I chose the best and glued it on the ŚLOZAK. This is the final result of a model. As you can see, I made a couple mistakes during the assembly. It was my intention from the beginning that ЩLOZAK will be a highly exploited unit, but definitely the elements of rust and scratches that I made were too intense and covered too large surfaces on the sides. I also used glossy varnish. This effect was also not entirely satisfactory. I think in the next model I will try half matte or matte varnish. However, for now I've planned to put it on the water, so I'm gonna leave it with gloss varnish. The element that I definitely need to improve is painting and masking during painting. Of course there was really small scale, but I could definitely do it better. I also have to remember about the order when pasting the various elements of the model and painting them before or after. All these mentioned errors are rather due to the fact that I'm an amateur when it comes to modeling. but there was one error that I made by mistake. I've got both bow anchors in the wrong direction because they should be directed towards the bow. After completing the whole model, I was very pleased as it was my very first model. Assembling it took me some time, but I was happy with the amount of additional elements which I made. For sure I will remember Ślązak for the rest of my modeling career, and I'm glad that I've learned a lot during this project. As I said, this was the last episode, but before we move on to building another one, the next episode will be devoted to the construction of a diorama. I'm gonna try to build a typical sea diorama and place Ślązak during crossing on the high seas. I hope you like the whole series of shipbuilding from scratch and that some of you learned something watching my movies. At least you will not repeat my mistakes. Thanks for watching and see you soon, guys.